going on, everybody? Sean Burst on here, Sharon Letalon. This is Beyond the Court. We have a special guest with us today, former collegiate athlete, NCAA champion, and now, current director of video coordinator with KU men's basketball, Mr. Jeremy Case. What's going on, guy?
How's it going? Appreciate you guys having me.
No problem. Now, from last season to this season, we like to ask our guests how they've been doing with COVID, but you're kind of in a unique situation because you being on staff at KU, you guys' season was kind of cut short, like everybody, NBA and NCAA. What was that like for you and the players mentally to have a successful season, then all of a sudden they say you just got to stop? What was going on around that time with you all?
Yeah.
Well, it was tough. But so we were at the Big 12 tournament, so it was around this time. And we were set to play, I want to say that morning when things got cut off. So there was a game the night before. And then so we were getting ready to do our pregame meal and film and all of that. And Coach Self got the phone call saying they're going to cancel our game or at least postpone it. At that point, we still thought there was still going to be a season. So we were disappointed about the Big 12 tournament, but we were like, okay, maybe we still have a tournament, because we had a really good team that year. And we were expected to be a number one seed in the NCAA tournament.
Right. Now, this year, like I said, it's been kind of, steady pace. What are your feelings like this year being on staff as opposed to, of course, last year when it was kind of derailed for everybody? Now you have a full season. Everybody's back in the swing of things. What's the lock like right now for you guys going into the tournament?
Yeah, so last year we pretty much had our season, our regular season. So when we found out that we weren't going to get to play, it was pretty devastating, not just for us, but for our players more than anything, especially our seniors, because they had worked so hard, had a great summer, and we won. I want to say we won 16 games straight after losing our first game in conference, and in conference we were 17-1. So for those guys not to be able to go and continue that in the NCAA tournament was very devastating for them. So I felt awful for those guys more than anything. And this year, it's actually been pretty good for us in terms of we haven't had any pauses. So we only had to postpone or cancel one game this year. And in conference, we played all of our games. And I think we're the only team in our conference that was able to play all of our games.
Okay. Now, before we get into your coaching career, and also your playing career, I got to ask this question, on a funny note, what were your thoughts when Snoop Dogg came to the field house during late night, and he had his performance and all that stuff? What was the reaction from the staff and also the players? What was that like?
Well, initially it was excitement. Initially it was like, man, Snoop Dogg's gonna come to Lawrence, Kansas? Like, what? And then I started thinking like, wait a second, he's a little older, and I don't know if the players, really relate or know Snoop, but most of them did because he's kind of reinvented himself. He's in a lot of commercials, he's on talk shows, he does a little bit of everything. He's not just rap anymore. So that was pretty cool that our guys were excited about it. Him being, Snoop being, an older guy or whatever. But it was exciting. And then the performance was a great performance. It kind of got a little raunchy, but other than the raunchiness of it, I thought it was great. I thought the fans had a good time. I thought that the players enjoyed it, and Snoop was great. In the locker room, he was great to our guys. Took pictures with everybody. He was fun to be around. Other than the little bit, the few minutes that where it got a little raunchy, which we all know Snoop can be that.
Right.
That's kind of him. Other than that, it was a great experience.
I know, excuse your glasses, that you're from, I don't want to destroy it, Oklahoma. So correct me on the time. Okay. Like I saw, your mom played college basketball and at Seminole College in Colorado, and your dad also. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure.
Did they introduce you to basketball or?
Yeah, sure. So they happened to meet at that junior college. My dad also went to that junior college. So they met their freshman year there. And I guess not too long after, my mom was pregnant with my sister, which she's 2 years older than me. So my mom didn't finish up there. So, but my dad did, and he ended up going from there to Oklahoma State to play ball for, I believe it was John Paul Hansen, I believe his name was, but he played there. And so I've been around basketball my whole life. My mother continued to play after she had us. She continued playing in leagues and whatnot. So I would always be with her, trying to dribble the ball and all that stuff. So absolutely, they definitely introduced me to ball.
Okay. So you also had a great career playing in Oklahoma at your high school level.
Yeah, I had a pretty good career. I was able to score a lot of points. I don't know how important that is. We never
over 2,000 points. There's a couple of points.
Yeah.
Let's okay.
We never won a state
championship.
Yeah. So, but the ultimate goal was to win a state championship. We got close, but we never got to the promised land. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my high school career. It was one of those things where it was just I was so focused on basketball during my high school career because I wanted to get a scholarship to college. My family wasn't very well off, so if I was going to go to college, it was, hey, go get a scholarship. The best way you know how, and so that was pretty much my goal throughout that time.
I love that you just share that just that point. To always bring to the viewers of we always tell the youth, play the sport you love, but we like to use basketball as a tool for education.
No doubt.
And then immediately you already just put that forward that, you play the sport you love, but you knew that was going to get you the education, the higher level.
Absolutely. And, obviously most players want to make it to the NBA, but if you understand the game, you know that everyone's not going to make it. It's a very, very small percentage that gets there. So you have to have a backup plan. You have to understand that, basketball is not everything, but basketball or athletics can take you just about anywhere you want to go.
Right. Now, Jeremy, I think you're being kind of modest, man. Me being here in the Kansas City area, I know Jeff Hawkins, I know a lot of those guys for a long time, Wayne, all those guys. So yeah. I remember when you came, highly touted, averaging, junior and senior year, averaging over 25 a game. Like Sharon was saying, 2,000 points. At that time, let's be honest, at that time, what was your mindset going into, okay, when it started to look like I can have a chance to go play Division I? How did you handle that as a senior? And what made you decide the University of Kansas?
Yeah, good question. So I my favorite sport was baseball. So I was always wanting to play baseball all the way up until about eighth grade, I believe. So 8th grade, 9th grade came around. I started getting really good at basketball. And so I would spend my summers with my dad. My mom and dad weren't married. So my dad was a head coach at Oklahoma City University. So I was able to go spend summers with him and work out with his players and do drills and whatnot and play pickup with those guys, which was great for me because playing with older guys, play with guys better than you was going to make me better. So when that came around and I started doing good against them, I got my confidence and whatnot. So when I would go back to McAllister and play with, high school guys, I was able to put in work. And so that's, and then obviously summer ball, AAU, and you start getting letters and whatnot. And I would get letters from just about every school out there. And my dad said, those letters don't mean anything. And what do those mean? Unless you have an offer or whatnot, he tried to keep me grounded to that extent. And so it was, hey, just keep working, good things are going to happen. Keep working on your game. And then the offers started coming in and coaches started coming to see me. But when you say, how did you stay grounded? It was, my family was my mom, my dad, they were the ones that helped me stay grounded. My dad would always say, hey, there's somebody trying to outwork you. There's somebody better than you right now. So you have to stay focused and keep working on your game because there's somebody out there that's better than you at this time.
Right. Now, when you ended up signing at Kansas, I wanted to ask you, because I remember when Roy Williams was here and that whole, I believe it was in April and May when he made that decision to go to North Carolina. What was going through your mind being a recruit about to come to Kansas, and now the coach who had recruited you, he's now about to leave. What did you think about that? And what did your family think about that? And did you ever consider transferring when you heard that news?
So at that point, after their season was over, there were some rumblings about, okay, Coach Williams might leave, but I'm thinking, no, he's not going to leave. He loves Kansas, been there, I don't know, he's been there like 15 years, 13, 15 years or whatever. And so I didn't think it was going to happen. And then I was working out and I got a call, I believe it was from one of the assistants. And he told me that, Coach Williams was most likely going to leave and that he would be calling you soon. And so at that point, obviously talked to my mom, talked to my dad, okay, what should we do? Do I need to go to another school? Because obviously I love Kansas. I chose Kansas because of Kansas and their tradition and whatnot, but Coach Williams was a big part of that. So it was a decision. So, hey, let's just wait and see who they hire. And so that's what I did. And then once they hired Coach Self, I don't know if you guys know, but Coach Self played basketball with my dad at Oklahoma State for 2 years. So they kind of had a relationship, and Coach Self was able to come down and see me and talk to me. And so it felt like it was going to be a good match. Coach Self seemed like a great guy. My dad was obviously had confidence in him. My mom liked him. My mom kind of knew him a little bit when my dad was at Oklahoma State. So that's how I ended up saying. But yes, I did. It was a thought about, hey, let's look at some other schools or whatnot.
Right. And, I want to ask you off the cuff, with having the relationship that your dad had, with Coach Self in the past, as a player, did Coach Self ever drive you harder? That kind of situation, like having your dad be like, man, coach is running us, coach is doing this, coach is doing that. Like, what was that situation like for you?
Being a coach's kid, it's almost like you're kind of used to what coaches do. So I kind of understood that coaches are going to try to push buttons and try to get you to where they want you to be by maybe running you a little extra, saying certain things that might push your buttons to make you go a little harder. So I felt like I don't know if I really had a hard transition. And it was, I know at one point I'm like, man, Coach Self's kind of crazy, but it was like, okay, so he's just really just trying to push us to get to where we should be. But he was hard on us. It was definitely a new experience for me as far as being pushed to a certain point where you're like, hold on, man, this dude's a little out of his mind now. We got to run this and that, and then come back and do that. It was a eye opener for sure.
Well, after that, after you left, you had to make a transition from player to coach, and you had some choices. If you could just tell us, how was that becoming, the transition from player to coach?
Yeah. After I finished playing, I ended up being a grad assistant here for a year. So, it was like, okay, do I want to go overseas and keep chasing the basketball dream for a few more years? Or should I just go ahead and jump into my coaching career? I know I want to coach, just jump into it and see where that takes you. And so I sat down with Coach Self and he felt like that would probably be the best thing to do. And so did I. So I jumped in and be a graduate assistant in sports management. So did that. And after a year, I got an full-time assistant job at Southeast Missouri State. But let me go back. The transition, it was tough, being a player and then being a coach right out, because you have to still have a good relationship with the players, but you also have to understand that you're not one of the boys anymore, so you have to differentiate and make sure they understand that, hey, we're cool, and everything, but I'm still your coach, type of thing. So you have to make sure that they understand that as much as, the coach does.
I think, also with that, Jeremy, you gained a lot of respect, I'm sure, from the players and the community and the staff, because you had so much success, as a player while you were at Kansas. And, even before that carried over, you being a part of 4 Big 12 regular season titles, you had 3 tournament championship titles, and then you're also part of that 2008 championship team. So it's almost like, when people say you win a championship, and it's just almost like you hear, oh, these guys can go eat for free. These guys can go here for free. These guys can go there. All that kind of stuff that you hear, I'm sure the community respected you to where, the transition mentally was probably like, okay, I got to cut off.
Mm-hmm.
I can't joke around with the players like I used to. It has to be more of like a mentorship part.
Yeah.
The hardest stuff like mentally for you?
Yeah. It was like you still had the itch. One, had the itch to play, and then two, had that itch to kind of hang with the guys because when you first transition out, you're still kind of young. You still kind of might want to go out a little bit, and do things like that, especially here in Lawrence. But you can't. You have to be mature enough to separate yourself from that lifestyle that you were so used to, being here in school. And that's one thing. Still being at the college that you went to, still knowing everybody around, and still wanting to hang a little bit. You had to be mature enough to separate yourself from that.
Right. I've always wanted to know, like I said, I've known Jeffrey, I've known Jeff Graves, Wayne for a long time, but even the success that they had there didn't win the championship. You were part of the 2008 team and hadn't won a championship, since 1988 with, Danny Manning and the Miracle. So what was that for you like? And what was that experience like for everybody to finally win a championship after 20 plus years?
It's actually really hard to describe. So, it's like a buildup, and that's the goal you're going for as a college basketball player. That's what you want to do. And so for me, I redshirted a year, so I had been here for 5 years. My first year we lost in Elite Eight. My second year we lost in the first round. My third year, I believe we lost in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
And then my junior year or then my senior, we finally won it. So it was a buildup. And so when you actually make it to the Final Four, and and you actually see that end goal, that hey, it's right there. We can actually grab it. It's surreal. And then once we get to the championship game, and we're playing against Memphis, and they got Derrick Rose, and they got all these pros, and you're like, it's hard not to be like, I don't, we're good. But that's the number one pick. That's the number one overall pick that you got to go against, And so, and I don't know if you guys remember the game or not, but it was. We were down. They were beating our butts pretty good, We were, but we kept fighting, kept it close enough to where we can get in reaching distance and actually put in overtime, and then won in overtime, which was, was unbelievable comeback. But it was amazing. I actually was crying after we won because the buildup was like, we finally did it, after so much grind and so much hard work and whatnot. And so it was wonderful. Wonderful.
It's funny you mentioned that because I remember the cover. I don't know if it was a magazine or the newspaper. I believe it was the newspaper. And they had you sitting in your locker room with your hat on, and you were holding, I believe it was the trophy.
It might have been the game ball.
The game ball.
The game ball.
Yeah. You were sitting on the game ball, and you were just, you can tell it was like an emotional picture.
Yeah.
That's so telling that you being a redshirt to that point. I can only imagine what the feeling like was for you.
Yeah, it was almost like I didn't want to leave that moment, type of thing. It's and it doesn't, you don't get that. There's so many college players that don't get to that point to actually even have a chance to win a championship. It's so hard to get to, and then when you actually do, it's incredible. It's incredible.
I wanted to go back to the transition of when you went from player to coach, and I like what you said about you had to change your mindset because you still want to kind of hang with the guys and everything else. How was it that the guys finally seeing that you were on your path respect you more, you think, or listen more because you knew what they were doing, You still weren't judging, but you also able to, I imagine, give them insight like, look, you can continue this way. This is where I'm going. And, like you said, the percentage getting an MBA, maybe you need to look at an alternative, play with passion, but also be coachable. So that's what I was kind of interested in. Did you find it more difficult to be coachable to the guys since you were with them, and
But
they had to kind of,
the good thing about the year that I was a grad assistant is that some of the guys that I was actually teammates with were still on the team. Like Sharon Collins, Cole Aldridge, those guys were still on the team, and so they already saw me as a leader because I
okay,
was older. I was a senior, to them, and I was one of the team captains. So once they showed the other guys respect, the other guys fell in
yeah.
place. So they made it a little easier for me because they showed me respect. They would listen to me when I spoke. And so once they did, because they were the best players on the team, the other guys fell in place and they made it a lot easier for me.
Could you tell more about what it is to be redshirted? Because a lot of kids, like they said, that they think, okay, you got into the basketball, you get into college, and what what redshirted, but which means normally, you got on a team, but you didn't get to play, but you did what you need to do to continue on, so it's not just a straight road, you know.
Right. Yeah. So my freshman year, I didn't play a whole lot.
Hmm.
We had a bunch of upperclassmen. I know Aaron Miles and Keith Langford and Wayne and those guys, and it was a really good team. So those guys were coming back my second year. So it was like, okay, I see that I'm probably not going to play over those guys again. So, let me redshirt, let me get better, let me get stronger, let me work on my game. Let me, instead of wasting a year sitting on the bench again, let me do that and try to prepare myself for when I do get that chance and get that opportunity to play more minutes and whatnot. I think
And
a lot of people get a misconception of coming to college and playing right away. You watch
hmm
on TV, you watch the Dukes and Kentuckys and, even the Kansases. But at the end of the day, freshmen aren't playing a lot. They're just not, because if you look who wins the national championship, it's upper teams with upperclassmen.
right.
Because it takes time to understand the game. It takes time to know your coach. It takes time to get an
Hmm.
identity, and so you'll see freshmen, every once in a while win a national championship like Kentucky did, but that's not the norm. That rarely happens, and so I would like for guys to come in as a freshman and understand that more. Instead of saying, get mad, oh, I'm not playing, I'm playing 7 minutes a game, I need to leave, I need to transfer.
Exactly.
To me, they need to understand that all freshmen aren't going to play. Especially when a team is has a lot of upperclassmen.
Right. Now, when we were at Southwest Missouri State and then also Houston Baptist, you had the opportunity when you left there to come to Kansas, and you're now the director of video operations there. Can you talk about the feeling of coming back to where you won a championship, and what was that like? From you went out of state for a few years, and now you're back at Kansas. What was that feeling like to be under Coach Self again?
Yeah. So just to give you a little bit of history, so uh, I was at South Missouri State for 3 years, and it was a tough job, kind of a low major. Being at Kansas, obviously we won 25 plus games every year. Going to Southeast Missouri State, I think our first year we won like 7 games. So to me, it was one spectrum to the other. It was a
Right.
whole other type of grind, which was good for me. I needed that, but at the time I didn't quite have any experience with it. I haven't never lost that much. And so it was good for me to see that side of it and see how you have to talk to players, how you have to encourage more, you have to really sit down and really get to know those guys, because losing will magnify everything,
Right.
and so with that being said, it taught me so much to where I feel like I'm stronger, I'm tougher, I'm smarter from experiencing that. And then we got better. I believe my third year we won 17, 18 games, and so we got better. And then I made the move to Houston, which was good for my recruiting experience to help my contacts and get my contacts up in Texas, which I don't know if you guys know, but Texas is full of players, high school players. so getting contacts in Texas and Houston, Dallas was great for me. It was a great experience. And so I was on the road recruiting. I believe I was in Dallas, and Coach Self was there. And so we're sitting next to each other watching a game. And the guy that was a video coordinator before me was Aaron Miles. And so he had just got a job at Florida Gulf Coast. And so Coach Self and I are talking, and he just asked, would I be interested? And I said, at the time I was like, I don't know, because it's not a recruiting position, going off campus and recruiting and whatnot. And so it was kind of like, maybe type of thing. And so I don't know, a month later, coach calls me and we're talking and he's like, hey, if you like the job, I'd like you to come back. And so I gave it some more thought and it was like, I think it'd be a good move. Obviously Coach Townsend, Coach Howard, and Coach Roberts, good guys to be around, good guys to learn from, Coach Quarterbaum. And then again, obviously being under Coach Self. So it was fun. It was actually exciting to come back. When I first got to town, it was like, kind of had like butterflies in my stomach because I hadn't been back. I've been back in like 5 years, and then seeing the town, how much it's grown, seeing the campus, how much it's grown. It was a good feeling.
Right. Now, each city we go to and we conduct clinics and all of that, we try to tell these kids about good character, making good choices, making positive choices and all of that. Clearly, even when you were at Kansas, you weren't just a basketball player, you were a student athlete. And you also were a two-time all-academic Big 12, honoree. So obviously, years go by and Coach Self and, it could have been any coach to see you and other players who show good character. They saw your work ethic at that time. It's like, you know what? I'll be willing to give you an opportunity, or would you like this opportunity if it presents itself based on the fact of a good character type person you are? And I think Kansas, and I'm sure there's other universities like that. It's such a family to where people understand and they notice that, to where it's like, yeah, Jeremy was a good kid, not only a great basketball player, but good character guy. We want him on our staff. Did you ever think about it like that before?
I didn't, but I've always learned from my mom, my dad. You always try to carry yourself with respect. You try to do what you're supposed to do. You try to do it the best you can. You work as hard as you can. And I believe that Coach Self knows that about me. So, and he's going to hire somebody that he knows he can trust, and he's going to hire somebody he knows is going to work hard. And so I knew I had those two things going for me, and I knew Coach Self knew that. But just learning from my parents, they taught me that. They instilled that in me at a young age.
Now, you played at KU, and now, like I said, you're there on staff. Of all the memories you have, and I know you played over maybe 90-something games there, but you've been part of many more, even being on staff. What would you say is your favorite moment being at Allen Fieldhouse?
In Allen Fieldhouse? Well, my favorite moment at Kansas, obviously, is national championship. But
right.
Allen Fieldhouse, I would probably say my senior night. My last game in Allen Fieldhouse, I ended up hitting. I think I hit 3 or 4 threes, and I said my senior speech. It was that was probably one of my most memorable moments. I got to start that game. Obviously, I wasn't a normal starter, but coach started all the seniors. We had a great night. We ended up winning. I don't know, we won by like 40 or 50, but it was a fun night.
That's wonderful.
Tell upcoming kids, that want to play Division I basketball, that have aspirations to play in Division I, and also have aspirations of going further.
Yeah.
Realistically, what would your message be to them? You being a coach.
My message would be, one, it's not all about Division I. Kids get stuck on, I got to go Division I. I got to go Division I. It's not all about that. There's a lot of great D2 schools. There's a lot of great NAIA schools. I think the key is to understand that you have to work no matter what. You can't go a day without thinking about, one, your academics. That's important. But two, you have to work on your craft, whether it's baseball, basketball, golf, soccer. It doesn't matter. You have to work on it. A lot of kids are more talented than others, but talented guys, the ones that really make it, are the ones that, I like to say, with talented, there's an ED at the end of it, and that ED is extra dimension. If you have that extra dimension, you're going to make it. So there's a lot of talented guys, a lot of talent out there. But if you have the extra dimension, which I'm going to go the extra mile, I'm going to work, I'm going to get up, I'm going to think about my craft, I'm going to think about my academics, and you stay focused on that type of stuff, you'll be able to, one, get your school paid for, most likely a scholarship, and get a degree that you don't have to get any loans, you don't have to do any of that. It's all paid for. And you don't have to, your family won't have to do anything. So to me, that would be worth it more than anything, is to be able to get a free education.
Absolutely. And I think when I look at this use today, that key word you keep on saying, know your craft, work your craft, work the fundamentals. If you have the fundamentals, when people want to be, Air Jordan, it's like, there's only one MJ, and he lived, breathed his craft. He knew what he expected. He expected more than 100% of himself, but he also expected those who play with him to be the best version of themselves.
No doubt.
And if you know your craft, and be the best version could be anything. And I think that's what people starting to realize, don't just look for the lights. There's a lot of hard work that goes in and continues even when you're playing. And who's to say a Division I, Division II, or an HBU person is not as good as you, because people just, that's what I told you, it's about knowing your craft. You don't know where this life is going to take you.
100%. Yeah.
Now, I wanted to ask you this earlier, your dad being a former basketball player and your mom also being a former basketball player, did you ever play them one-on-one?
If you ask my dad, he swears I never beat him, but I started, we would always be in the gym together. He'd always be rebounding for me. He really taught me how to shoot. But yeah, and I never really played my mom, just messing around. But my dad, and I couldn't beat him until I started beating him around 8th grade. He tries to say it was like 10th grade, but it was like 8th grade. Right. He's a little shorter than me, but yeah, we used to go at it a little bit. He tried to bully me, basically. Right. And then I got a little stronger, whatnot. But yeah, we definitely played some one-on-one.
Right. Now, with this season, like I said, you guys have been successful this season. Where do you see the season headed as you guys are getting into, tournament play and everything like that? What do you envision? Of course, you got, you say national championship, but, the focus there with everybody, and everybody's on point right now.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal of the national championship, but there's little goals in between there that you got to stay focused on. So we always like to say this, it's 3 seasons: regular season, Big 12 tournament season, and then the NCAA tournament season. So we just finished up our first season. All right. And now we got a new slate, new season. We're excited for it. We're focused on the Big 12 tournament right now. Hopefully we can make a good run in that and then end up getting, a really good seed in NCAA.
Now, we always ask our guests this question. It could be off the court, on the court, to your mind. What does being an American baller mean to Jeremy Case?
It means that, one, you're well-rounded. It's not just about sports. American ballers, it's like I said, it could be piano, it could be a lawyer, it could be anything, but it's somebody that cares about their craft and somebody that's going to focus in and reach their goals and grind and work hard towards that.
I just want to thank you again, for being on the show. I appreciate your time, especially during busy season and everything. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me.
And you're more than welcome anytime to come back.
For sure.
Absolutely. And, keep doing what you're doing. And like I said, any tidbits with us kids, just keep on pushing them to the next level.
Absolutely. Will do.
Okay.
All right. Appreciate you, Jeremy.
Right.